Good
Hello,
morning.
how are you?
Good. We are live on YouTube.
Oh,
I had to go ahead and create the link. I just wanted you to know.
okay.
Did the tablet, did what I sent you work for the tablet?
I haven't tried it, Brandon. When I connected with my iPhone, everything worked fine. So I think it's something with my internet service provider
Okay.
because I had a separate issue earlier in the week. So hey, how do I since morning sun comes through this window, it's really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got my London blackout curtain.
Yeah.
How do I turn on a virtual background? So you can give a Kentucky Human Rights Commission live IT tour guide.
Okay. So I think you have to download them.
Okay, I've done that.
Okay. If you go to where the video camera is and hit the little up arrow,
Mhm.
there should be some,
Choose virtual background.
yes.
I see. And of course, the one that I just downloaded isn't there.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, let's see. Let me figure this out. Okay. Well, I'll try and figure it out. I don't want to keep you from what you're doing.
Oh, it's okay. I'm not doing anything right now.
There's add an image. That's what I want. So let's see here. So we are in the midst of the governor's conference on diversity.
Oh, nice.
Is that annoying?
No, well, no, it's fine.
Is it loud? Is it annoying?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you sound like, well, yeah, but I don't want to say that to you.
No, no, it's not. It's fine. I like it.
Okay. Well, I could also get like the straight up flag, just the flag. This just seemed a little more interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's great.
let me see if I can find something that's not quite so loud.
Oh, most people will probably have it on speaker view and it'll only show up when you're speaking.
Okay. I'm just gonna put I'll be back to my normal self until I can figure out something a little less jarring. I mean, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning, right?
Right.
Mm. A little less jarring. Oh, that's a better one.
And was that a photo? Did you add a photo to your background?
It's free download. Um,
Oh, I see.
this one's maybe a little better and not quite as. Is that less?
I like the other one, I'll be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of reading rainbow type thing.
Yeah, well, so there's also sort of the straight up. That's an oxymoron, right? The straight up rainbow. I said that. That actually, I said that. Yeah. Yep. Let me see what the other one looks like. I, you know, I was, hoping to attend some of that conference, but I had conflicts yesterday, and we've got our meeting today. So it's just
Yes,
can't
I
do
believe
it.
we've got a couple people attending.
Oh, good. Who's attending?
I'm pretty sure Terrence and Brittany. I'm not sure who else.
All right, so you get to call this, Mr. Brandon. Let's see, we've got that, or we have. Where'd it go? So of course I lost it. Oh, there it is. All right, which do you prefer?
Okay, hold
Hmm.
on. Actually, I like that one. I like that one.
Okay.
I mean, I like them both, but I like that one a little better.
Okay. Right. Yeah, it sort of does that force field Star Trek wavy thing around my head. I don't know how to get rid of that.
You have to have a green screen,
Oh.
and then it's probably still going to do it a little bit.
So just don't worry about it, right? This is me. This is me today. Thank you for your IT assistance.
No problem.
Live streaming to you via YouTube. The man who can answer any question coming or going.
Part of other duties as assigned in my job. Which is a lot of actually.
I think so. I think so.
Other duties as assigned, and this week I've been a phone repairman. We've had a lot of problems with the phones in our office.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Are you doing the voice over internet or just the regular state phone system, or what are you?
Voice over internet. That's I think most of the state has gone to VoIP.
Mm-hmm. It's great when it works.
Yeah, until your internet goes down, and then everything goes down.
Right.
Good morning, everyone, or Commissioner Cheney and Brandon. And
Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Aaron. How are you?
I love your background, Commissioner Cheney.
Thank you so much. We're in the midst of the league conference. I can't be there, but.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
You must be really good at this Zoom thing, Commissioner Cheney, because you can change your background. I still haven't figured out how to do all that.
No, actually, I'm not. I found the background this morning, and then before you joined, Brandon walked me through how to get it to show up. So.
At least I'm not the only one then. I feel like my kids are way more advanced than me, and she's 7.
Yeah, well, they probably are. I mean, they're, digital natives. I am not a digital native. I'm a digital immigrant. Didn't have all these things.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching my 7-year-old as she's kind of navigating through online school, and she has a great teacher who really wants to get them to do it on their own and try to be independent with it. So her computer skills are really coming along quite amazing. Like she's putting together Google Slides and turning in assignments and attaching videos to them and everything. Wow. So it's really cool.
Wow. That is great. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. How's everybody?
Good morning.
Good
morning.
It's always good to see you all. Actually, it's always good just to be alive.
It is.
Yes.
Shoot.
I call it being on the green side of the grass.
Can you move it a little bit this way? Yeah. We got some technical difficulties over here in Shelbyville, okay? Trying to get the lighting right. You never know who may zoom in today.
Right.
All right, that's fine. That like that. And
Cynthia, any news on the hot water heater?
Yeah, that was an adventure. They're supposed to come in today and install it. So, yeah, like 4 estimates that I had to get before I felt good enough to actually go with one. So it's crazy. They have us, you got to get it done. So
You have to.
they can charge almost anything, it seems.
yeah, that's true. And it feels like during this COVID, everything is
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, they have additional costs, so they pass that on
Yeah,
to us.
like maybe like $100 an hour for labor almost.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for
We
plumbers.
could put in that hot water heater. I got a feeling we could have did it. And could put,
May not last very long, but
hey Emma.
Hey everyone.
Hey.
Hi,
hey.
hi Cynthia. Hi Brandon.
Hi, did you get my email about the time?
Hold on a minute.
I wouldn't use that one because it keeps putting a dent. Well, come on, but it's putting a dent in our chair.
I'll be right back.
Put a towel in it, but you can use it for now.
So Chair Randolph, we're in the midst of the governor's conference on diversity, hence my background for today.
I like it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like
Is that today?
It's yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Oh,
And-
okay.
So
And it's the governor's conference. Is that what you said?
it's the governor's leadership, equality, accessibility, and diversity conference.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Good, you're
So
on
are
there
you going to
with-
be
I believe Brandon
the
told me-
program or are you attending?
I'm sorry.
Are you attending? Are you attending or?
I wish I could have, but we've got this meeting today. But Brandon tells me some of the staff is in attendance.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hopefully it'd be recorded. That's awesome that we got staff there.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia, can I ask the spreadsheets that you sent me, like, or either I can just ask you later, is, because when I looked at it, is that what I'm supposed to fill out for today? Because it's a whole bunch of them.
Your timesheet, it should be for November 16th through the 30th.
I'm seeing a whole bunch of stuff over there. So I don't know what yeah, you may have to relook at it.
I'll look and see what I sent you.
Yeah, do not look right now. It's not important.
Okay, yeah, because it should just be your timesheet for November 16th through the 30th is what you should have.
Okay, no,
Let me look and see.
no, I think it's some more stuff. And y'all know it does not take much to get me confused.
And I'm actually looking now because since the meeting hasn't started yet.
Okay.
Hey, Brandon, your background's boring. You want me to share my background? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Boy, he's just responding to Beach Band.
Morning.
You're
Hey,
muted.
Debbie.
And he keeps on going,
There he
Commissioner
is.
Cheney.
I don't know.
He is really talking, bless his heart.
Oh, I was on mute. It says my computer doesn't have the capabilities to do a background. I'm on an older laptop, so
Okay.
I don't think I can do
Well,
it.
if anyone would like to join me in celebrating the Governor's Conference on Diversity, which is yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I'm happy to email you the background.
Well, you can send it to me. How do I don't know how to get it up there. It may get up there the last 5 minutes of the meeting, but if you feel free to send it to me.
Okay.
I said the same thing, Commissioner Ellis. I said she was very technically inclined because she had a background.
Oh my goodness. I mean, now Aaron, you should be more knowledgeable than me, right? I am like old school, right?
I was telling her my 7-year-old can do it, but I can't.
Oh my gosh.
Commissioner Ellis, what I sent you, what you're probably looking at, usually what I do is scan the timesheets and send you a scanned copy. What I found out that I could eliminate a step. So all I did was forward you the timesheet, the actual electronic timesheet. So what you're seeing at the bottom of the timesheet is just different tabs for different months. You don't have to worry about that. But what comes up, what I sent you is what you need to sign. That's the first page. That's all you need to sign. Just in.
See what I mean? And it's no point in you sending it. If I couldn't figure out what Cynthia just sent me, there's just no.
No, I sent it to you. It's really simple.
Thank you. Thanks, Cynthia.
You're welcome.
Save it to your pictures.
Okay.
You get my message, Cynthia? That I couldn't open that?
Yes, I did. I didn't see it.
have a Windows 7 on
Hey,
this.
Cole.
So
I think Terrence will have to explain to you. I think he's using a different system than we're using also. So we may have to ask him how he sent it to you, because I think he actually sent it to you.
So if I get it, can I sign it on the computer and I don't have to print it out?
Yes,
Because I have my work computer here and I could probably pull it up there because that's Windows 10. But because I couldn't get I never got the information on the book or anything either.
Okay, yeah, you can definitely sign it electronically and send it to us. And then your book, I think he said he was going to talk to you about the tablet, because I think he just downloads everything onto the tablets now. I think
But I don't have a tablet. But I don't have.
Yeah, I think he's going to talk to you about getting a tablet.
Okay.
And then we have.
Yeah, did you get my email with the book?
She said she
No.
can't open it.
I can't open it. I'm not on Windows 10 on my computer.
Hello.
Okay, I have my work computer here, but I don't want to keep doing that. But
Okay.
I have Windows 7 on this computer. I do apologize. I don't have any updates on this computer. That's why a lot of stuff I can't get. And I can see it on this other computer, but I just can't print it out.
Hey, Mr.
We
Sullivan
do
and
not-
Dr. Frank.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And you may want to call me on my cell and walk me through it, because I did download it, but I don't know what to do now.
Okay, so you saved it to your pictures?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right, Brandon. Your turn.
Okay, if you go to where the video camera is and click the up arrow,
Click the up arrow on the video camera.
in the bottom left-hand corner,
Okay, guys,
and go to
don't
choose,
worry about it. Because then when I click on it, the video camera, it's like, oh, I see. Okay.
and then go to choose virtual background.
Okay.
And click add, click the little plus button to the right of the 4 pictures that are there. It'll say add image. and then choose that image.
Thank you. Sorry, everybody.
No problem.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I was there.
Morning. Do we have a quorum as yet?
1, 2.
Mr. Sullivan or Ms. Cox?
Commissioner Thomas.
Look like we do.
We do.
Mr. Thomas is doing, so I think we do now. Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting. Good morning.
Hey, this is John C.
Went on.
Fisher from Covington. This is John C.K.
Someone
Fisher
is
from Northern Kentucky.
phone. Good morning. How are you?
All right.
Okay. Are you just joining in to attend the meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good deal. All right. We're going to call the meeting to order, and I need to establish that we have a quorum.
Yes.
Confirmation of public notice.
It was sent.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a little choppy when I hear you guys, so I don't know what's going on.
We'll just need
Okay,
to
do we have any, do what?
We'll just need to close out our personal audios unless we need to speak.
Okay,
That may help.
thanks, Commissioner. Public participation, do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak at this time? Consideration and approval of the minutes of meetings held on October 15th, 2020.
So moved.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Thomas.
Second.
Second. Commissioner Cheney. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on to the section reports, and we'll start with our executive director. And I want to first commend him on the staff spotlight section of the report. I was very impressed with that, and would also like to congratulate Ms. Sandy Grace, Mr. Cedric Irvin, and Ms. Glenda Stovall for being selected to be included in this month's spot.
I like that.
Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you for that, Chair. Can you all hear me okay? The internet's cutting out a little bit.
Yes, sir.
So good morning on our
Morning.
last meeting of the year. As far as our budget and personnel things, there haven't been any big budgetary changes, but we are auditing our relationship with the technology department. It's state contracted, so we have to use them for a lot of our things that we do, but we've identified quite a few possible cost saving options. Namely, they have a bunch of computers that they're charging us for that we aren't using, as well as old user accounts, that type of thing, where they are charging us a monthly fee for things that we're not even using. And each computer that they have is base about $60 a month, plus access is another $6 a month. It all adds up to quite a bit. We're also looking for other things that we may have that are being charged by the technology department that we can either consolidate or cut entirely. So that will help us with saving money, but also improving some of our other tech issues. There's a provision in our contract about upgrades that we have not received. And so that's another thing to check into with them on if we're paying for it, they should be providing those services that we are paying for. To help with our case processing and movement of cases, the goal is for everyone here to be a notary. We've had, on top of the people who are already notaries, we've had others join and be sworn in, including me, Brandon, Brittany, Sandy, Claudia, John. There are others who are either already notaries or are working on it. And the idea behind that is when we need something notarized, instead of slowing the process down to try to wait and find someone in the building who is a notary, we can, if we all can do it, especially in our limited capacity where we have 1 or 2 people in the building, just so we don't slow things down for people who need something done. We want to make sure everybody has the ability to help us get the process moving. As far as other process things, we are working on finishing the idea for a legal case tracking. We've worked with one vendor who I was able to talk to them about a discounted rate. But before that, we are trying a program through that Brandon developed through Access on Windows, and to use that to try to see if we can efficiently track cases, but save the money on paying for multiple users if it has the same functionality. So we're going to test that. And if it works well, then we'll keep it. If not, we've already talked to a vendor who does legal case tracking that can offer us a reduced rate. And so that will be our next step if we don't find that the created version is sufficient. We were able to voucher for those EEOC cases recently. And again, I wanted to thank everybody for making that happen. And then our managing attorney position, we officially got the okay to hire. So now we can start that process. It will be a long process probably, but the okay just came in. So I think in the book it says that, yeah. So it wasn't approved then, but yeah, we just got that in. So that's something we can start moving on. As far as training and professional development, we're all technically right now, a lot of us are doing the Governor's Conference on Leadership, Equality, Accessibility, and Diversity, which started yesterday and goes through Friday. And a lot of us are taking part in the various pieces of that. We also just completed EEOC regional partnership training with Philadelphia and the Indianapolis offices. Let's see. For outreach, finishing up the meeting with the different agencies, Brittany and I talked to the Ohio Commission, and we've talked about really facilitating some regional paneling to do some community understanding to get more engagement of things that are going on in our respective areas, but also get some best practices down on how those agencies are able to run efficiently and effectively. And we want to be able to have that regional partnership. And so we're going to do a little bit more with that with the agencies around us. And if you are interested in talking about some of that, reach out to me and or Brittany, and we're working on getting some of those conversations started. One of the things that I'm very interested in very soon is meeting with more of the city and county commissions across Kentucky. I talked to Commissioner Thomas about our hometown, hopefully having a local commission soon. And that's one of the goals, is increasing local commissions around the state. So we have people in multiple areas doing the work. And that also takes some of that off of us by enabling and empowering those localities to do some of the work as well. I mentioned the case tracking.
Terrence, may I jump in a second?
Sure.
Would you to elaborate a little bit on how that would work if you established a site in Western Kentucky. Would it be similar to what we do in Covington? You would just assign a staff person X number of days a week?
Oh, no, not for us to be there, for a local commission to build up. So how Lexington or Owensboro or other towns have a local commission, which they're able to do through
Usually
us.
established, yeah, that's usually established by the city government. So
Right.
you're saying that you all would be approaching the local government for
Yes.
bill and encouraging them to establish.
Yes. So I talked to Commissioner Thomas about talking to the mayor about their next steps. Just, we have some around this area, but Western Kentucky, I think we have a lot fewer. And so just growing that reach out there and using the local resources takes some of that off of us. And we don't have the capacity to have our own people out there, but it also empowers them to do and know their area a little better than we could. And then the last thing was, you mentioned the staff spotlight, and just really wanted to give a personal thank you for Sandy. Sandy, I mentioned the EEOC voucher. I don't think that could have happened without her helping so much and getting those. You all saw all the cases. Well, each of those cases has a lot of paperwork that goes with it. And she was able to get all of it lined up, ready to sign and sent out in time, which was really difficult and took a lot of extra time and staying after and going above and beyond. So that was greatly appreciated. For enforcement, Cedric is very, very thorough and diligent in his work, and he has done a great job of just making sure that his investigations are sound, and that gives us a better understanding of where the cases sit when they're presented for the case reviews. And so very grateful for Cedric. And then for education and outreach, Glenda does a large bulk of our intake, and we have a lot going on, and it's very difficult with the challenging times that we're in. And so we're very thankful for Glenda to be able to take and process all of these things as quickly as she does. And so with that, if there are any other questions, or if anyone has any questions about what's been going on. Oh, I did want to update you all on, right now, we're currently in very limited in-office time due to our status in the red. We have strict directives that were passed down about the time that we spend in office with multiple people. And so what we've created is a waterfall, or a really structured time schedule, where at the end of the week, we know next week what day and what hour to someone will be coming in, and people will request those times. So we make sure there's not too much overlap in the office. The personnel cabinet has been reaching out to me about these directives and how to make it work and how these restrictions should work. And so we have very limited in-office capability right now. And that is another reason I like to shout out the staff here for doing such a good job and keeping everything moving when we have such limited access, and just making the best of their hour or two that they can come in and get things together, use the office functions, and do that type of work. And so it's really challenging, but everybody's stepped up and really, shined a little bit in this, because it's really difficult and we all understand that, but we haven't let that make us fall off. And so with that, I'll take any questions or thoughts.
Commissioner Cheney?
So what's your if you would just share something that you learned or something of particular note from the governor's lead conference, for which we have our spectacular virtual backgrounds today since it concludes tomorrow.
Mhm.
So for me personally, I did a double conference yesterday. I was doing the EEOC except for one of the trainings yesterday from the lead conference, but I was doing like a little debrief yesterday afternoon with Brittany about one of the more interesting ones that I saw yesterday, where they talked about the health disparities in communities, but also that then that conversation shifted to a conversation on the use of Latino, Latinx, Hispanic, and that conversation around why each of those terms was used and people's views on using them. And I learned a lot in that one because that's something that I personally had wondered about, because I never want to use the wrong terminology and offend someone. And so listening to people's perspectives on that, that was one of the bigger things for me yesterday. That was a great question.
Commissioner Ellis?
Well, kudos to the staff. I definitely love the way that's going. And guys, I just want to brag on Mr. Sullivan a little bit as well, because the chair had kind of encouraged me to get with him the plan about the budget. But guys, he's already hit the ground running, and some of the things that
I forgot about that.
he was already like taken care of, got meetings scheduled, not just with lower end people, but he has meetings scheduled with very high end people that at least his voice will be heard. And there are a few topics that I don't know when he'll want to bring them to the board or talk about what he's looking at doing as far as the budget and some of those things go, but it was really good on that. And my question to you is, can you share a little bit of, because I noticed in here that you were on KET. Can you share a little bit about what you talked with Renee about?
Sure, thank you. I completely, and I'll update on the budget piece as well. My apologies, I completely forgot about updating on that.
He's the ever ready battery that keeps ticking.
As far as some of the public appearances and interviews, I talked with Renee Shaw and KT about our anniversary, and then some of the things impacting our agency and our vision moving forward, and how we really want to grow in our reach and our effectiveness, and talking about my own hopes for this agency in Kentucky as a whole. And so that was a really great conversation. There are going to be more. I already talked to Renee. We're going to have a couple more to just really spotlight the agency, and we can talk more about the commissioners and what you all are doing. And so I think that will be a great way to really grow awareness of what we're doing, which can help so many more people who don't know that we're here. That came up in a conversation that we had where there were people who said that they just accepted things that happened, and they were like, oh, well, I guess that's just what it is. And being able to let people know that, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And if something really egregious happened, there's an agency that listens and tries to get to the bottom of it. And so being able to get that out there is important. And so that will continue to happen. As far as the budget conversation, I completely forgot to even mention this. I've already discussed with Senate leadership of one party, and I have a conversation set with Senate leadership of the other party in the next few weeks. And then there's also some House conversations being set up, as well as people on the budget review committees, and talking about not only protecting our funding, but finding ways to have more funding come in if possible during this shorter budget period. And so that's ongoing. But thank you for pointing that out, that we have been working to get those conversations started. Just at the least, we want to make sure that what we do have is protected, but being optimistic, we also would like for something to be increased.
Will you tell them about the KRS too? I thought 344 and revising that and what that would mean if it happens.
So the other piece of that is looking at some of the statutory timelines in 344 and where we can that doesn't interfere with any of the federal requests, to making sure that we have, not making sure, but just if there are ways to change some of the timelines so that we can avoid some legal challenges based on our inability to make some of those those steps happen in a set timeline, to get some changes in 344 to just really circumvent some potential legal challenges that could come. Colt and I are going to talk about what could be important and what could be some feasible changes to make in that regard. I also just, with that in mind, a shout out to Colt and Sandy, especially Colt and Altita getting a brief put together for one of our legal challenges. And I reviewed it. It was really well written and researched. And so we're firing on all cylinders over here. So
Perfect.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, thank you. I really applaud you, Mr. Sullivan, for your efforts to find ways in the budget that you can reduce expenses, whether, it's equipment or things we're being charged for. We really don't know what's going to happen with the budget with all of the coronavirus issues and money that's being funneled towards that. Even though some of that is certainly federal funds, we just don't know what's going to happen with our budget or in the future. So I think, those efforts are not lost on me, especially because we don't want to be paying for things we're not using. If there's anything that we can send back to Frankfurt and just have our expenses reduced, it is going to be really helpful for us. So thank you for giving that attention as well.
Thank you. That was definitely a team effort. We had, I looked through it. Brittany went through it with like 10 highlighters, and then we sent it to Brandon, and Brandon went through and identified some of the pieces of things that to say, yeah, that's not a person that's here. That's not a computer we use. And so we were able to work together and find some of those things. And so really appreciative of everyone jumping in on that.
Yeah, that would definitely be a team effort. That's a huge process and job. So thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Sullivan, thanks for your report.
Thank you.
Budget and personnel. Brandon, you're up.
You have my report before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Yes.
I do.
So Ellis? Okay.
Thank you. For your financial report, I think it's an error because this is September's and it should actually be October's, page 17. It is identical to what was in our last book. And so that's what makes me think it was a double.
Possible. I don't have the book.
Yeah, and if you look at the top, it does say September. It should actually say October. And so we don't have October's in there. So we probably want to get that corrected. And I was going to ask, like, is it possible if we do like forward thinking, like I know that you give us a snapshot on page 16 of what the actual budget was allocated, but what we're not able to see as a board is the revenues minus the expenditures. And from month to month, I mean, you could go back. That's how I even found the error, because I had to go back to the last book to compare what was different in the current book. So I guess what I'm asking is would it be possible on a Excel spreadsheet if you could also show the monthly expenditures, and if you got real fancy with it, I would like to see. And I say I just think it would be helpful to all of us as a board if we could see like a pie chart that would kind of include like the grant fundings, any other fundings, the federal fundings, and then what the general funds is percentage wise. If we get this kind of, so we can see how it's going down, which is good for you too, because if I ever said, where are you at with the budget percentage wise, you would be able to say, oh, we're at 86%. We still have 86% of our budget, versus right now, you would be like, let me get back with you. And is that possible maybe to think going forward? Because this doesn't really tell me how much money we got in the bank.
Sure. So first off, let's go back to the expenditures. The monthly expenditures, they should, I mean, there is a column, actually, I'm sending it out now, the November report spreadsheet. There should be a column that says the expenditures for the month. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean. When you're
You
asking
want to tell us
for the monthly expenditures, other than what I've already.
Do you have, you don't have the book open, right, Brandon?
I don't have the book, no.
On 17, it has what we've spent that month on each of the blocks in the far left column.
again?
If I could ask a clarifying
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
Are you talking about something like a budget variance report? So
Actually, it's a balance sheet, but it's hard for them to do a balance sheet, but that's exactly what I'm talking about, Ann.
okay,
So-
because I mean, something that lets you know we expected to spend this much, we actually spent this much, we're at X percentage of our budget versus X percentage of the year.
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay, I
Yes.
just want to make sure I understood.
Yeah. And I tell you, so we won't take a lot of time. Either of us don't mind getting with you after hours, or Garnett or whomever, to just kind of work with you guys and show you guys a little bit of how it would help us basically to hold you guys accountable, or be able to truly be able to see what's going out, what's coming in, things like that.
I think it would be good if in this interim period, if we had a meeting and talked about what you all wanted to see in that portion.
Okay.
And then we could really design it in a way that's the most informative, but also easily understood. And so I think that will be a good thing to circle back on, and then we can make sure moving forward it looks exactly like what you all would like to see.
Perfect.
Does that sound okay?
Yes. Thank you.
November's number should be in your email. I know it's a little hard to look it over as we're having the meeting, but
Yeah.
but yes. So a balance sheet's really difficult with fund accounting because it's not the same as standard accounting. But variance is definitely something that I can do, and I think I could put together a couple different options. You all could let me in anticipation of the meeting, so that you can see what the different options are for reporting.
We're okay with what Mr. Sullivan said during the interim. It's no rush. It's, to me, I mean, it's just something that I think it would be nice to have.
Sure. Okay, any other questions?
So that everyone is informed, I know Ms. Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Ellis, going off the top of my head, is it Commissioner Fuentes? is on the budget committee. But please and include me on that. Make sure that everyone is aware.
Yes, I am.
As well as our vice chair, as long as we don't go over 5. Okay. All right. Anything else regarding budget and personnel report? Okay. Move forward to enforcement. Aaron? You up?
Oh, hold on. I had messed with my background. Let me change that back.
It looks a little weird.
Yeah, I was learning when Commissioner Cheney was teaching Commissioner Ellis. I thought I'd take a little technology class there this
Never
morning.
do what Commissioner Ellis does. She's always messing something up.
Okay.
Mr. Ellis's eyes look kind of weird. They look all yellow. So
Yeah, they did.
I know. I'm trying to show I'm a team player, but I get it. I don't know how to fix it.
Okay, we have 21 cases for you today. We are going to, enforcement is going to have to pull one case, 9051-E/2. That was a case that we actually went to case panel about, and the witness was scared and would not speak to us. And they called us Monday morning, or they called the investigator Monday morning and asked to speak with them. So we're going to pull that case so we can interview that witness and make sure we got all the information we need in that case. And that is Collins versus Schwan Food Company. Again, that is 9051-E/T will be pulled. So then that actually puts us down to 20 cases. We have 1 conciliation, 1 reconsideration, 1 dismissal without prejudice, 16 MPCs, 1 withdrawal, and 1 withdrawal with settlement for your vote today. If you have any questions, just let me know.
I do. And this is a question, but also Mr. Sullivan, it may be that these cases that I'm going to ask about are included in the 15 that we've been discussing. But it's under public accommodations, case number 1111, 1115, 1120, and 1122.
what's the page number?
Page number is 53.
Thank you.
I don't see those cases on the agenda. The only PA case we have on the agenda for closure is 1175 PA. Is that maybe?
I know, but as I went through the book, as I was going through the book, this list of cases, I was just wanting to get an update.
Oh.
It's in the open cases.
Okay.
Page 53.
I do not have the book, so hold on one second. Let me see if I can get to my.
Which ones were they? I'm looking at 53.
1111, 1115, 1120, and 1122, and 1126. So anything 700 days or more.
Okay.
Oldest one is like 902 days old.
I'm sorry, I'm pulling up the case list now so that I can.
Okay.
And I will say this, I have spoken with enforcement officers, and now that we just knocked out the EEOC contract, we are really making a focused effort on getting our older cases out. So we are working on that.
Okay.
I have a question if we are,
Commissioner Ellis?
yes. On page 99, it's case number.
Oh, okay, if we're gonna go to another case, let's let her finish. what
Oh,
she's-
I'm sorry. That's what I was asking, if she was finished.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, she's still researching. It's okay.
Okay.
Hold your question.
Okay. Okay, it looks like with 1111, the investigator is going to need some legal assistance. So he is going to be submitting that case for a, both 1111 and 1115 are going to be submitted for legal assistance by the investigator on those cases. And then what was the next one that?
Okay, so what do you mean by that? That it's gonna
I mean,
be,
where the enforcement officer either is stuck and needs some legal assistance on which way to go forward, or there could be a legal question that has arisen that they need some help addressing. A lot of the times with legal assistance requests, those are for difficult cases that may have a lot of different moving parts in them. So the investigator will submit a legal assistance request to Colt, and we meet weekly every Tuesday, and we go over that, and Colt will kind of help walk us through it and tell us, what you would need if we were going this route with it, or just kind of give us some direction on that. And it looks like that's for 1111 and 1115. What did you say the next one was?
1120 and 1122.
Okay. Looks like the investigator is still working on those cases. Yeah, those are still ongoing.
I mean, like, it's been with us since 2018.
Yeah, and like I said, we're making a push to really get those older cases out.
1120, 26 was the other one.
And to answer your question from earlier, Chair, these are not on those ones that we were talking about.
These are totally separate. Okay, thank you.
Correct. Yes. So these are still ongoing investigation wise, and so there's still some interviews to complete, and so the information is not as sound as those others.
Okay. Okay. We'll move on to Commissioner Ellis. I'm just seeing the flag and no longer Commissioner Ellis. We're ready for your question.
Sorry, I needed my glasses. Okay, like on, I think It was on page 99, and it's case number 9008E. Aaron, just I guess more or less, I kind of want to make a statement like, now since racism is looked at in a different light, it's not the old way, and it's more of authority with the pen and opinionated. You know, when someone says that they send all employees to the warehouse, how do we verify that? Did we interview other employees, or do we just take the respondent's opinion on that?
No, we do not take the opinion. They have to provide documentation. And then we, if there's no documentation, we'll conduct interviews to verify if that happened. But yes, no, we do not take opinions. We require some kind of documentation to verify their claim.
Mm-hmm. And after you get the documentation, do we circle back around to the complainant, or do we not? Is that just a whole nother step that says?
No, it's kind of, an investigation is kind of like a ping pong game. So the burden of proof initially starts on the complainant when they make their claim. So they make their claim, and then the ball goes to the other side, and the respondent has the chance to rebuttal that claim. So once the respondent rebuttals that claim, then it comes back to the complainant for them to rebuttal anything or to provide evidence otherwise that, you know, may contradict with the. So it kind of is a ping pong game that goes back and forth. What you find is at some point in the investigation, someone's going to make a claim that the other side can't not justify, or there's documentation to verify their claim. So say a respondent says, well, we moved all employees. And then they show us that through interviews or through documentation, whether they wrote it down or where they put it in writing somewhere, that all employees were moved, not just a certain group of employees. So it kind of goes back and forth. See?
Okay, perfect. And then the other one was on page 98.
Excuse me, could I?
Sorry, yes, sure.
Madam Chair.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I wanted to just on that question, not sorry to cut you off, Commissioner Ellis. In the case of everyone is sent to the warehouse, are other employees interviewed about their warehouse going journey? You know, are there comparative stories of how people feel about this practice being sent to the warehouse?
Yes, our interviews are generally very in-depth, and we try to get all the information we can. And one thing that we've learned in investigator training is when interviewing, try to keep open-ended, because you wouldn't believe the stuff that people share with you if just given the opportunity. So our investigators are very good at that. I like to kind of brag on investigators that have almost 100 years of experience between all of them. So we got 3 that have been here almost 20 years. So, and then I've been here 15 as well. So you kind of realize that when you get people talking, the more that you can get them to talk, the more information and more you can get a feel for the situation. So we're always open and always try to interview as many people as we can in situations.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay. And then the other one was just on page 98. When we talk about this particular employee, she basically was saying, they were saying, oh, she had an attitude. Oh, she was, you know, like, sound like it was like an angry Black woman, so to speak. How do they burden the proof that she was an angry Black woman? How do they justify that?
Well, I'm sorry, my dog is barking in the background. They do it through interviews. We speak to people. Like if someone said that someone has a bad attitude, we pull up complete personnel files. So we get everything. We can see the write-ups. We can see the emails between management discussing employees. So we get a really good feel with the information that we're able to get for a file. We can pretty much request anything we want. We can request the complainant's complete personnel file. We can request other employees' complete personnel files so we can kind of compare them. And we can get whole list of all employee breakdowns based on, protected classes. So we can really get a lot of information. And you can see some that, usually if an employee has discipline problems, it's been noted pretty well in their file. And then if it's not noted in their file, then that's going to be really hard for the respondent to prove that they were a disgruntled or had problems with their performance if they can't provide us any documentation to prove that.
Okay.
And
Commissioner Cheney, and then Mr. Sullivan.
So Aaron, just help me understand two things. How when the staff is doing an investigation, how do you sort of quantify that an individual is not being judged more harshly or more severely than coworkers because of perhaps race or gender? In reading through the cases, I have wondered a couple of times if there has been a dynamic where there has been a racially biased comment, and that can lead to someone being demotivized, or it can be a disincentive. It can affect morale, and all those things ultimately could then be rolled up into performance issues. I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of that. And then the other thing I try to get a sense of is that if one employee makes a statement, it may be taken at face value, whereas if another employee were to make the same statement, going back to the terminology that Kim used, I'm just to be blunt, if I were to say something, someone may not perceive what I say in the same manner as if Kim were to say it. She might be perceived as an angry Black woman, although we both said the exact same thing. And that can be very difficult to pin down. But I'm just wondering if you can help me understand in the investigative process how we deal with that, how we look at it.
Well, this is, we've actually had a couple of case panels that have had this. So when we have situations like this, Terrence is laughing because he knows, this is when we utilize our great legal department. And we take these cases because there might be a situation where there might be some difference in how because we look at, it's called comparables. So we always look at comparables in situations. So we're always going to look at the complainant, and then we're going to look at someone who's similarly situated employee in a different protected class or no protected class. So if we have someone who's claiming race and they are, say, a machine operator 1, we're going to go look at all the other machine operator 1s that are white and see if they had any of those issues too, to see if there's any kind of comparable difference in how they're treated. And sometimes we do have cases where it looks like there might be a little bias or something. And that's why the weekly case panels is such a great resource for the enforcement unit to not only, move our cases forward, but as a learning opportunity for us to kind of learn, it's almost like a training opportunity. But this is, in those situations, it happens. And that's when we utilize our legal assistance requests and our case panel reviews. And we all come together and we discuss it and we hash it out and we, see what we can do or if there is anything there.
And just to add in, and I laughed because it sounded like the two of you were plants by me to have this conversation because we have, in the past few case panels, we've actually had this exact conversation. And I can assure you that in the case panel conversations, we are talking about looking at these cases from a lens that looks at what could be perceived as in opposition to what is something that's actual, because that's something that we know happens. And looking at the comparables, that's a really good way to do it, but also trying to get a little bit more clarity on the situation and the context, and then use that to have a really frank conversation of, well, does this feel, from the facts presented, does this feel like there was some bias or perception there? Because we all know it exists.
Mhm.
And if it rises to a certain level where if that's the only factor, then that's not okay. But if there's some perception, but there's also some differentiation that actually shows, okay, well, maybe they do have a different perception of you, but there also were some things, like you did have some attendance issues or something else that goes with it, then in the case panel conversation, they can still make that determination, just making sure that we look at the full picture, but don't take anything at face value without having some kind of contextual background with facts and information. And the investigators are good at asking the questions that need to be answered and seeing, okay, well, was it really they seem like an angry Black woman, or were there other things going on? And so they do a good job, and then they're good conversations at the case panels where some of these decisions are made on if it is an NPC. So that's an ongoing, I don't want to say challenge, but an ongoing lens that we have to look at all of this in, is making sure we get the full picture and all the context when we're making determinations, because the facts are very important, but we also have to view them in reality and use them together. And so we are looking at that, and that's something that's really an intentional thing that we're doing in the case reviews.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you both.
Yeah. Thank you, Louis.
Commissioner Ellis, did you have a question?
It was Louis was next before I finished.
Thank you. Yes, I have a question maybe for Erin. The case where the complaint passed away, and the number is 1920H. The question is, just for my information, have we seen it before? Have we had this kind of situation before? And in that case, what we have done? What I mean is that, a complaint that passed away, Miss Scott, and even when we found a probable cause and we issue a determination, this lady, unfortunately, she passed away. But they responded actually was without any point, any unpunished. So have we seen it before? Any case?
In my 15 years of being here, I've probably seen it happen about 4 or 5 times where we've had a complainant pass away for different reasons. So it has happened in the past, unfortunately. So yeah, I've seen it a few times over my years.
Usually the same course, nothing happens.
I don't recall anything happening in the other ones. This was actually a case that came out of legal, so Colt might be able to kind of tell a little bit more about that.
This action was filed in court before she'd passed, and she passed while the action was pending. So she's the witness in that case, and without a witness, you can't proceed. So I had to voluntarily dismiss that case in circuit court because she had passed away.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Yeah, I wondered that same thing about that. I didn't know if their family could take over. So if a witness is not there, it's not.
she's the primary witness in that case. Her testimony would be critical to prove in that case, and without her, we can't proceed.
Okay, thank you. The last thing that I would add when I was talking about these cases, Erin, this time I didn't really see that, but one of the things that I wanted to ask is, whenever we see cases and it says, oh, they had an African-American boss, it's kind of like today, for example, Ann's flag, and Ann asked if anybody else wanted to do a flag. What if we had our own biases, right? And we were just kind of like, ugh, for your own beliefs and reasons. You're not really thinking of an employee. So even if, let's say, we could be the exact same color and still have a bias. So does your panel, I guess, Mr. Sullivan, is your panel going pretty in depth to where we know that just because they had a Black boss and they're a Black employee with a complaint, it doesn't mean that they still can't be discriminated for whatever reason? Can you explain how y'all handle that?
Oh, we hashed it out good in the legal case panels.
Okay.
I think we talk about all, I might be talking for Colton Terrence here, but I really like the case panels because we really get down and deep in the cases, and we even hash out our own personal biases sometimes at the table with it. Like, if you might lean a little way or lean this way, we hash it all out. I like to say that we really go in depth on these cases in the case panel. And sometimes we don't all agree, and I think that's good too, because when you don't agree, you can have those differences of opinions, and then you can play devil's advocate sometimes. Well, what if? So I think in those case panels, we're really throwing a lot at it. And I will say too that when we submit them now, we're submitting them with the case file, so the legal attorneys also get a really good chance to look through the whole file. It's not just like we write up a form that we can write up, or when you write, you can sway things a little bit. We submit the whole file to the legal unit so they have an opportunity to look through all aspects of the investigation.
Okay, perfect.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yes, Commissioner Rabbi.
The case where the complainant passed, how long had we had that case?
It was filed in circuit court in 2017, I believe. I don't have the file in front of me.
Okay, good enough. I wasn't sure if that was one that came in recently or if that was one from the backlog, and I was just curious to know. Other than that, this entire exchange has been, especially as I'm currently taking the training not in person, which anyone who's taken the training could tell you it's way more difficult, than that entire exchange has been remarkably enlightening to me. So thank you, Terrence, Commissioner Cheney, Commissioner Ellis, Aaron. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been enlightening.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Just want to say thanks.
Commissioner Cheney, I'm sorry. Commissioner Cheney?
I wondered if that discussion is over, if we could talk about the case on page 92, 1939H. So, and Aaron, I had a couple of questions here. The case name is the complainant and a realtor, a listing agent, but in the text of the case summary, it references a property. I'm not sure, a property company. Okay, so first of all, I didn't understand the dynamics of the parties and whether the complainant perhaps filed the complaint against the wrong entity, so to speak. And then secondly, I wondered if you could walk me through the real estate or Colt, the real estate contract law considerations that come into play when someone has made a legitimate offer to purchase, because I found this very troubling, and I'm trying to get an understanding of why this would be an NPC.
This is Rodriguez, correct?
Yes.
All right, that was a case closed in legal. As far as the real estate contract aspect of it, they made an offer. What it seemed like to me is that the house was listed. It received several offers, and you can choose which offer you'd like to accept. They rejected the offer made by the complainant, and then sold a couple of days later to another person. In this case, I felt that the facts showed that the second offer, or the offer that was accepted, was a better offer given what they wanted as the seller, what she said she wanted. She said she took this offer because it was a more advantageous offer to her, which I think is completely reasonable in real estate transactions. It offered her more time to stay in the home. I think the purchaser would then buy some of the furniture so they didn't have to move it out. So that was the proffered reason from the respondent as to why they didn't sell to that person. The only thing the complainant had was a statement that said, I didn't sell to him because he's Hispanic, from the real estate agent. I just didn't find anything else to substantiate that. To me, it just wasn't that credible, frankly. And in light of the more advantageous offer, I think they had justification to accept that one. Go ahead.
And I could be wrong. Certainly, I'm probably wrong. I've been wrong many times in my life. But when folks make an offer on an offer to purchase, it's a contractual written agreement, and I think the seller typically has a specific time within which they must respond. Often 24 hours, but so were the multiple offers concurrent? What troubles me here is that the offer to purchase was made. This is according to the case summary. The offer to purchase was made, and then they were told that the property was no longer for sale, but yet they cold called the realtor who told them the property was still for sale, and ultimately the buyer, or the seller rather, sold to a non-Hispanic person. Ultimately, the offer that was accepted may in fact have been better, may in fact have been a non-Hispanic person, but I'm troubled by the I guess I don't know that from a real estate contract law and an offer to purchase perspective, were the multiple offers addressed in the order in which they were received? Were there other offers to purchase, because you said there were multiple, from non-Hispanic persons that were also declined or allowed to expire? I'm just not comfortable with this, but so if you could just help me understand.
Sure. Certainly, I'm no real estate agent, and I don't have experience in real estate law. Otherwise, I think here the offers were relatively concurrent, maybe not simultaneous, but I think they kind of came in a flood of offers the day the house was listed. So I think here, for all intents and purposes, I think that the offers were concurrent or simultaneous, and they chose the second one. And frankly, the alleged statement made by the real estate agent wasn't substantiated by anything else, wasn't corroborated by anyone else. They simply denied that it was made. And I had to make a judgment call. I'm not so sure it was made. On a couple of occasions, I spoke with these people, tried to evaluate for myself, listening to them speak. And I don't think from a legal perspective that case would have success on the merits. Therefore, I found it wasn't likely that happened.
Were there any other persons of color who made offers on the house?
Was there any other offers on the house? I'm not sure.
People of color, others that.
I don't know that answer either.
Okay, I think personally I would ask that this be revisited.
If we,
Mr. Sullivan.
well, Commissioner Ellis had a question. I can ask this after.
Okay, Commissioner Ellis, then.
Thank you. I was going to ask this just from the standpoint, the complainant said that the alleged that, they didn't want to sell to Mexicans. Did we ask the complainant to provide phone records or any proof that she had called on the next day? Was there any other proof, or did we just take the respondent that said, I didn't make that comment?
I think the proof was asked for and never received. I mean, she hasn't gone out of her way certainly to show me that this happened upon closure. I don't know if this matters to you. It kind of mattered to me at the end of the day after I made my decision. They didn't seem that upset that we were closing the case. It just didn't seem believable to me. I mean,
it just feels a little different from where the one property's coming at the end, and I just couldn't tell if it was the same coincidence or if it was a little bit unbalanced. So thank you.
sure.
Okay, Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to just lift
There.
up one point. Can you all hear me? Okay. Colt, you said something that kind of, okay. You said something, Colt,
Sort
that
of freezing up here and there.
you mentioned, and this is no slant to you or anything, but you said, I'm not a real estate attorney. And it just made me think, does the commission have a group of consultant personalities that we could call upon from different disciplines to address cases in the context? For example, if, and I'll just use this as an example, if a complaint were to come up from a funeral home, do we have someone that we would contact to help put context to the investigation in that light, to weigh in maybe on some additional fact? Real estate may have some, I know that in doing contracts, we do several things, property acquisitions, that there are timestamps that typically happen electronically if realtors use some of those things, so that you could look at comparative contracts and just see, but are there laws behind the scenes related to that, particularly what's in the best interest of the seller versus the purchaser? So would it be that the seller has more rights to determine which offer they want? I know recently we had a property we were trying to acquire, and there was someone else who put the bid and they were willing to put more down in terms of cash. However, that ended up dropping out the scene. They weren't pleased with the inspection report and things like that. So we still ended up, our offer was accepted, but at first it was just very hurtful, and it appeared even to us, well, you know, they may not want college to have this property because what have you. And this was well, we got information we weren't supposed to get in the mistaken text that let us know that the buyer was way out of town somewhere, potential buyer. So it really felt strange to us. And I even wondered in that case, how would we defend that? But is it just left up to the seller to decide? And I wonder if real estate law would lean more so toward the seller versus looking at the purchaser's right to get housing. You know, I'm not sure of that.
A couple things. I mean, I understand generally the fundamentals of contract law, which I think this case rests. And I said that I wasn't a real estate agent. I'm tasked though with figuring these things out, obviously. And of course, I think like any other lawyer, I use resources, right? If I need to call someone with more experience in a particular area of law, I mean, yeah, I call them. I do some research, what have you. To answer your question, we don't have a list, of course, of anybody that I just call. I call people that I've met along the way. Again, this case didn't necessarily turn on any nuances of real estate law. I don't think it's fundamental offer and acceptance here. I think, to answer another point you had, I think real estate law typically does favor the seller. The seller has the freedom of choice, so long as, of course, they don't break the law in doing so. You can sell to whomever you want, so long as you don't say, I'm not selling to you, right? What's alleged here would be wrong. There's no question there. I just didn't find that it existed. I don't know if I answered your question.
Commissioner Cheney.
So, and Mr. Sutton, I'm not, please understand, I'm not questioning your judgment. I think perhaps it would be beneficial in this case to reach out, I don't know, maybe the Kentucky Real Estate Commission, just to take the time to look at some of the other offers that were made and whether or not any of those were made by persons of color. Just a bit of extra due diligence. The outcome is likely going to be the same, but I think I would be a bit more comfortable if we might just take a couple of extra steps on this one.
Okay. Duly noted. Do we have any additional questions regarding cases?
I just have a question or a comment.
Mr. Sullivan.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Just a second, Commissioner Smith. Mr. Sullivan?
I was just going to say, if it would be beneficial, I could, if the case file is here, I could grab it and see what questions were what was asked. From what I've read, it doesn't sound like and I agree with Colt, it doesn't sound like the decision rested in real estate law, because it seems like it doesn't seem like that was the deciding factor in the NPC. But I could go grab it if it's here, if there were any questions that might be able to be answered. Just if that would be helpful to you.
Why don't you go ahead and do that? Why don't you go ahead and do that, and then we'll move to the next person that had a question. Commissioner Cheney, did you have your hand up? No, I'm sorry, it's Commissioner Smith. Okay, Mr. Sullivan, if you want to go ahead and grab that file, that'd be great.
I certainly respect Commissioner Cheney's opinion of her desire to pull this, but I have a question for Colt. Would we even be able to get those records of who all were making offers on the home, considering it's almost 4 years later?
Potentially, maybe. There's everything's done by computer. Surely there's something electronically that exists, but I don't know for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any additional questions regarding Ms. Spalding's report, and then we can come back to Mr. Sullivan? Commissioner Smith, did you have your hand up? No. Commissioner Cole?
Well, I just pretty much wanted to make a statement. I didn't get the book, but I'm listening to all the conversations on the cases. But in retrospect to what we were just talking about, we have to realize that these kind of things are looming, and it is very hard to prove. But if someone has an inclination that this is happening, and no offense to anyone that is not of color, because you don't understand the inferences that you get that gives you that inclination. I've been through that before. Can't prove it, you just move on. But in a case like this, where we're setting, we need to vet that as much as we can. Now, again, you can't say anything when you don't know the inferences because you're not African American or you're not another descent outside being white. I'm not trying to make it like it's a big deal of trying to make it like it's worse than it is. But you have to understand that inferences that people give them that indication. It is very hard to prove. And I have been in that situation at least 6 or 7 times. You have to let it go at some point. But if you can investigate and vet and make sure that that's not what that is being done, then we as a commission need to make sure we fully vet that. It's not about saying, I didn't see anything because of my gut feeling. You got to realize that the person that just got, slighted with this, they've got on their conscience that they realize that they have been brushed over. They may have feelings for that. They may not say anything to a big degree, but I'm telling you, they're probably feeling that. And we have to make sure we vet that as a commission. That's all I have to say on that. I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything, but I know what that feeling is like. So you can't blow that off to say that there's no evidence. There may not be. But that person got an inference of that, and that's why they made the complaint.
I think if I remember correctly, I'm not sure they had identifying information on their offer that would have tipped them off. I'm not sure that was required by the offer.
Well, we need to make sure that there weren't other offers like Ms. Cheney was saying, Commissioner Cheney was saying, to make sure that there's not any other African Americans or people of color or other races that had offers on the table. Now that would conclude to say, well, if there wasn't anybody, then okay, we can say, okay, we rest on that. But if there were others, then we have to make sure we vet through them that they didn't get the same process. But it is important that we make sure that every case that we have that's been as an inference, not taken lightly, because those inferences are, they're important because people of color and descent are seeing that, especially with the climate right now. Now, I know 4 years ago, maybe, but 4 years ago, we were dealing with the same climate.
Oh,
and we're
yes.
dealing with it now more so. And people that cannot prove it are the ones that are getting left behind because they can't prove it. So
I understand.
that's all my statement is. That's all I got to say.
Mr. Sells.
No, I'm sympathetic. And I'm a white male. I get it. And I understand. Another reason why the case panels have been helpful too. Not that that is required. I mean, I can see, right? I try to be as open-minded as possible, of course. And if there's something I can take and run with, I run with. It just wasn't there here.
Okay, that's fine.
Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to circle back to Commissioner Cheney's question originally. You mentioned something about a confusion between the listing agent and the properties. So I don't know if that question was answered and brought you clarity. Or is there still?
Are you referring to the case that Mr. Sullivan is pulling now for additional?
Yes, yes.
We're just waiting for him to return.
I can answer this question, I think, if I understand it correctly. What's the difference between the respondents were listed here as the real estate agent responsible for listing the property, and a property ownership LLC. That the LLC did not own the property at the time, so they should have been dismissed from this case anyway. At the time of sale, it was just transferred to the seller's name individually on the title, on the deed to the house.
And then also with HUD and housing cases, HUD requires us to name all parties in the case on the complaint. And that's just to help us get information and to make sure that no one is left out that should have been filed against. So in any housing complaint, you'll usually see multiple respondents on the same complaint, and that's a HUD guidance. And they want us to file, if it's a property manager that may be acted out, file against the property manager, the apartment complex, they're all listed on, and we can drop, like Colt says, we can drop any of those respondents off if we need to, but in the initial filing part, we usually always file against all parties.
You want to file against as many as you can, and then find if they don't have liability for one reason or another, they can obviously be dismissed from the complaint, but you want to cast a wide net. I think that's just prudent practice.
One more question.
Vice Chair.
Do we have any other issues with this particular listing agent on file with the commission or the realty group?
No.
If you give me 1 second, I'll do a case search.
There's none on there. I mean, we asked the questions I think we needed to there. We asked a lot of questions of a lot of different people there to help make this decision, including the agent for the buyer.
Mr. Sullivan, are you
Yes.
ready to give?
Well, I just grabbed it, so I'm looking through it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
If there were specific questions I should be looking for, then that works.
Commissioner Cheney, did you have a specific question that you wanted him to?
Well, it sounds like we don't actually have the information at hand. The question was the multiple offers and were those dealt with in the order in which they were received? I mean, the buyer can either counter offer, the buyer can just ignore the offer and let it expire, but that written offer to purchase has got a time certain by which the seller must respond. And a lack of a response, then essentially the offer to purchase dies. So my question is, did we look at the other offers to purchase? Was this particular offer to purchase dealt with in the same manner as the other offers to purchase? And were any of the other offers to purchase from persons of color? Or is that even something that we can determine from the files? Did we ask that question of the listing agent that interacted with either the buyer's realtor or the potential buyer of the offer?
So
In the absence of having answers to those questions, I'm not comfortable that I personally don't feel like I have adequate information to make a.
So the answer to your first question, as I'm looking, there are multiple offers the same day from different people on that property that were all within 24 hours. And so they were concurrent offers that were submitted that way.
Is there a time on that to where you can tell when people did it? Like there's a time statement?
No, they're not electronic.
So you can't have a time. Okay, that's fine.
But we can tell they're the same day, what date they were submitted, right?
Right. I think these things flood in and then you
Yeah.
just got, and then you make a decision which is best for you.
They got them all on August 20th.
Yeah. I was just going to say, just because I'm so far in this process right now, I know that whenever you're receiving as a seller a buyer's bid, you can request that they not come until a certain time. So they could have requested that even if an offer was signed on one day, the seller themselves could have said, I'm not reviewing them until this time on this day, and receiving all at once from their realtor. And also the seller's information, their name and their identifying information would not have been on the bid.
Okay, who is speaking at this time? I'm sorry.
This is Brittany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Yeah.
But yes, they were all the same day. There's no time. This is in 2016. They weren't as digitized as they are now. So it doesn't have the times. Like I know if it was now and they were in DocuSign, you'd have the time, but these are all the same day with multiple people who put in similar offers on the same property. And then looking through the questions and the case file, there was no, as Colt said, there was no corroborating evidence or substantiation. The person from the agency didn't really remember even having conversations about some of the property outside of the general parts that you would talk about in selling, but they didn't even offer up anything else to corroborate the allegation whatsoever. And then even in one of the questions for corroboration, there wasn't even a response. So I think that would have also influenced that determination that Colt made, which I think is pretty spot on from what I can see in looking at this. Does that help, Commissioner Cheney?
All right, Commissioner,
Question.
and then we'll go to Commissioner Ellis.
Okay.
Cheney?
Yeah, that's helpful information. I thank you for taking the time to look at the file and share that with us.
Does that provide what you feel that you would feel more comfortable with accepting it, or do you still have questions?
I have reservations, but there's nothing concrete, and the staff has done its due diligence, and they are the experts. So I will defer to their recommendation.
Okay, Commissioner Ellis?
Do we know, was there a language barrier, and maybe if that was why nothing was produced? Were they Hispanics? Was one of them Hispanic? Can we, how was it? Go ahead.
He complained it was Hispanic. He didn't have a heavy accent, if that helps you. We spoke very easily. His fiance was white. She made the phone call allegedly to the real estate agent to ask about it. I think that answers your question. And to just add on a little bit about what we were talking about previously, I called, I asked her, who'd you tell? Did you tell anybody when this happened? You must have been outraged. And I didn't get anything like that. So I had to.
Okay, thank you.
And the questions that were asked for corroboration, they were all in emails. So it wasn't even spoken. It was email correspondence. And so that was follow up.
Sorry.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Vice Chair.
Mr. Sullivan, are you saying that the statement that Mary Nichols made to the fiance of not wanting to sell to any Mexicans was in written form?
No.
Okay.
I was saying that in some of the requests to the complainant for corroboration, it was all in email, and they didn't answer they didn't respond to the emails. And then just to clear up anything about any accent or language barrier, just saying that it was written correspondence as well, for clarity.
Okay.
Do we have any additional questions regarding the enforcement report? I would entertain a motion to accept the report as presented.
I moved.
Vice Chair Smith.
Seconded.
Second. Who's second?
Commissioner Rabbi.
Commissioner Rabbi, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Just wonderful.
Vice Chair.
Good job, Aaron.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Education and outreach. Ms. Taylor, you are up.
Good morning. You all have my report. Can I answer any questions for you?
Can you give any updates on the status of the Owensboro Human Relations Commission? They're without a director, right?
No, I can't. I don't know if they're going to have someone else. It was Joanne Kendall had been filling in and sending us information. But I will have to go back and look at my emails. There is a young lady in the office, and they're continuing to work with us and send us complaints. Okay. So under Joanne's direction. So I can pull up the email and tell you what that young lady's name is.
Yeah, Miss Kendall resigned, and
no one told me that.
Yeah, she's been gone for a while, and it's my understanding that the secretary is filling in the meantime. So
okay, so that's the person that's been sending us, but and that's not something they would run past us.
No, I know.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've lost everyone on my screen, but I hope you all can continue to see me.
Yeah.
Okay. Chair Randolph, you're the only person I can see. All right.
Great. Your lucky day.
All right. But no, I don't have any additional updates on Owens.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I know that we don't have any.
Also, I would just add that December 10th, there will be a virtual Human Rights Day. December is the month that we celebrate Human Rights Day nationally. You all, if you don't have invitations, I'm sure we'll get them. There will be a limited number of folks attending. And the purpose of that is just for human rights leaders and directors to get to know us, get to know our staff, get to talk to Mr. Sullivan, talk a little bit about the challenges that they're seeing in their communities and how they've been handled. We started, Juan is heading this project up. He started yesterday, inviting people, and he has already gotten at least 11 RSVPs. Mr. Sullivan can probably tell you better than I the number they're going to cap that at. But you know, as with all virtual things, I'm sure it will be full. So that's in honor of our National Human Rights Day on December 10th. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Ms. Taylor, if I could ask one question. Madam Chair.
Yes, is this Ms. Commissioner speaking?
Yes,
no?
ma'am.
Okay.
This is Reed. Yeah, could I wanted to ask Ms. Taylor a question if I could, a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
How many commissions do we have across the Commonwealth?
We actually have 25 commissions established, but we only have about 20 that are actually active. And by active, I mean they're having meetings regularly, monthly, or quarterly. But we have some, like Owensboro, who are without directors, some whose budgets have been cut to the point where they can only have one or two major events per year. And so they may only meet quarterly. On the other hand, we have some that are extremely active, like of course, Lexington and Louisville, Bowling Green, Hopkinsville, some of our larger cities. Those human rights commissions are extremely, extremely active. Northern Kentucky, they meet monthly. There's always something going on, very involved with their communities.
Well, is there anything that we as a commission can do to maybe help those 5 commissions that are somewhat inactive, active, but somewhat inactive?
You can always encourage those city and county governments to put some funds toward those commissions so that they can actually operate and do something. That's the main thing, is the funding. Unfortunately, a lot of our commission staff out in the counties are just getting older, and they've been doing this kind of work so long. There doesn't appear to be anyone to pass the torch to. So if you know of some younger folks or some even older folks that just have the energy and the desire and the time to be involved, that's kind of where we stand there. Like Danville, we've had a long-standing chair in Danville who just retired, and he's just tired. He's old. He's just tired.
So would that fall under the director, or to kind of help jumpstart that, or is it something as a commission we can do by letter? Or
yeah, we used to before our department got so involved with the intake process, we were able to get out into communities where we saw a need and actually meet with community groups like the NAACP chapters, the community action groups and boards, and actually talk to mayors and encourage them to form human rights commissions. We were able to do that, and I think we're going to, be able to do that again. We have a whole guide book on just how to start local commissions. One of our education outreach displays was it was a big map of Kentucky, and we had a star on every county that had a local commission. And I know that at a couple of state conferences, when we would put that up, folks would come by, mayors would come by and say, hey, my county doesn't have a star. And then that was the opening for us to talk to them about the need for a local human rights commission. So in this climate, we're seeing that need grow maybe a little more than it has been.
That was my point.
Yes, sir. So hopefully we can, and we'll get back to that. Mr. Sullivan already talked about that a little bit. He and Brittany are working on doing some outreach in terms of encouraging our, local city and county governments to implement some new local commissions, and hopefully they will. We can't make them do it, okay? The law only says they may, they can, should they want to, but we don't have the jurisdiction to force it. All we can do is provide the technical assistance that they need to be successful.
Well, that's true. And my thinking was kudos to Adalia over in who just took over there. As you well know, they're doing an excellent job in building their Human Rights Commission there.
Adalia Luna in Hopkinsville. She's very astute at what she does.
She sure is. So, I think it behooves us to try to work on something, the climate that we're in, to get more of a presence in those communities, and even the ones that are active, pretty well active. I think we need to try to step up the game to let people know that those commissions are available to people. I think sometimes we're the unspoken hero of what goes on here in the Commonwealth.
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis?
If I could just add to what Commissioner Thomas is saying, one angle that we could go at, like Terrence or Marianne need something else on their plate, but legislators in all of these districts, I've seen in the past where they've been asked to find someone that they know. It would be nice if you could find someone, whether it's in Rabbi's area or Lewis's area, it doesn't always have to be an African-American, and just bring the legislators in and see if they know of anyone they would recommend at the local level. I think that's a nice start, because not only does it get them involved, it also gets them engaged.
Yes, ma'am. We could definitely take that advice and use it. Thank you.
I'm thinking that Commissioner, going back to Commissioner Cole, the statement she made earlier is a good example of what's needed, I think, across our state. Is a lot of time it's the unspoken word that is not said that has people of color in our communities, I think, so frustrated. So I think it's important for us to work on that in the best possible way we can.
Okay.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes, I just want to mention that December 10, she's right, is the Human Rights Day, but it's an international day. It's a celebration, in the whole world. By the way, usually the Cuban American community here in Louisville, we get together this day, and we are planning to do it next month, depending of the regulation, for the COVID-19. But we usually get together and we celebrate this day. Basically, we are asking for, the respect of human rights in our country, in Cuba. But again, just wanted to mention that this is an international day, and we celebrate that, and we are asking for change in our country, basically asking for more free expression and the respect of the human rights. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
If I could just share on
Commissioner Rabbi?
Share something just then, I have a question. On what Commissioner Thomas said, I totally agree, but I also think that we should acknowledge that in today's financial climate with COVID, I don't know of anyone who's looking for something to put new money into. I mean, I don't know what our budget's going to look like next year, but budgets are being slashed all over the place. And while there might be a lot of people who we need to bring this idea to, I don't know that any small city council or county judge executive is looking for somewhere to put more money in the coming fiscal year. And I just think that's something we should acknowledge as we try to push for more councils across the state. My other question is, we have in the commission book every month in the news. Is that in this department or is that in another section of our conversation?
Those stories come from this department. John Fisher, who is on the line, is the staff person who usually follows all of our news stories. And when there are clippings that are fairly relevant to the Commission on Human Rights or work that's being done in Kentucky, he will send those to us, or he sends them to a large list of folks, and then we just pull them down and put them in the book for you to see. I send them to Cynthia, she puts them in the book.
I appreciate this section very much, just to keep track of stuff I might not have heard about. However, I have noticed in the last few months there's been no mention of anti-Semitism ever that I've seen in this section, and our state has had quite a few news stories on that subject. And I just think it's something to keep an eye on, just from which it wasn't only an anti-Semitic thing, but something we commented on as a commission, which was the state police training warrior cops using Robert E. Lee and Sun Tzu and Hitler. And then something that affects me personally, but also a lot of Jews around the state, is that there was a anti-Semitic vandalism attack on the Jewish Student Center at the University of Kentucky just last week, which is where I work. Well, I volunteer there several hours a week. And it just seems that, and there's been several other stories that have been passed over doesn't get into these clippings. And as it's something shared with a lot of people around the state who should be aware, I'd love if we can keep an eye out for those stories as well.
We will.
Very good point.
I did want to clarify one thing, because I too, as we discussed, Commissioner, about that state police issue, with the timing of when we do the books to come out to be sent to a little bit more than 2 weeks prior, this was put together almost a month ago. And so those things happened after this was already put together. And so that did create that lag, because those were two really big issues that should be addressed in here. But they just happened after we put this together. But I do agree with you on the other point of that, about just in general things that we would include and to be on the lookout for.
So it wasn't the first two stories. There was a story which several commissioners knew about from other sources, but for example, a blacks will not replace us, Jews will not replace us, immigrants will not replace us letter was put around Lexington on people's doorsteps. And when I made a public statement about it, just as a religious leader, the white supremacist organization that sent out the letter called my home and threatened me, which was a news story that was widely across my district. And that was several months ago. And so it's not like the first story involving anti-Semitism that wasn't mentioned. It was just a recurring thing. So I understand why those two stories weren't there this time, but I think it's something that over the last year I've noticed that could use a little more attention.
It will.
I don't think it was intentional in any way. Just something I wanted to bring a little attention to.
Thank you.
Sure. Madam Chair, just to follow up on
Commissioner Thomas.
What the rabbi was saying, a lot of times we talk about monies in these communities and that type of thing. A lot of times it's not so much about monies, but it's how you approach various people in those communities that you can get a lot of things done as well. So sometimes I think we have to look at the big picture, not so much consider the finance. If we can regulate people's minds to what we're trying to do. A lot of things can happen that you find yourself like, wow, this happened, and money's weren't involved. So I really think that we need to take the initiative to show that we are trying to make a difference in the communities. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying, Mrs. Taylor?
Yes, sir. Yes, I do.
I wish every community had a John C.K. Fisher in it, but we're not as blessed to have that.
Madam Chair, I have one last thing, one comment on that.
Yes, Commissioner Ellis.
If we could even, Marianne, would it be possible for you to give Mr. Sullivan a list of the counties that we do have local commissioners in now? Even if you just started there, that might be a good thing. And I think it's more of a partnership angle. And then the other thing is, maybe if it's not too much, as commissioners see things that we think are relevant, perhaps we could also send it to Mr. Sullivan and he could get it to Marianne as well. I mean, we could also do that because the climate's changed in such a way, and federal laws are being changed now, from gay rights to everything. And Mr. Sullivan was sharing with me how unemployment, disability, especially around COVID, that there's a lot more cases even in those areas. So that's.
We have that list, Mr. Sullivan. I'm sure you have it probably several times, and it's also on our website. So yes, thank you. We will. Okay.
Okay. We have any additional questions for Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith?
Yes, I wanted to think about how we could brainstorm to do maybe something innovative that could help generate an interest in areas where there's not a human relations commission. For example, do we have any relationships with any of the colleges throughout the state KCTS system where we could look at internships for some college students to delve into this subject matter and be available to help report up, even if it's just to us, cases or issues that are coming up in those local communities. Maybe their hometown doesn't have one, but they're attending U of K. And if there's a little scholarship opportunity or something, that they are like our little deputies, that they could be in these various communities throughout the state. You know, if there's some innovative things that we could start priming the pump with, or I know that there are pastors and church leaders, what have you, in each community, and maybe we should host some kind of a regional brainstorming session via Zoom or something, and get groups on and just talk to them about our entity and how we would deputize them to know these are some steps you could take. If you see anything, say something, what have you. Or maybe they could be little outposts at their churches or at their community centers or what have you, to kind of report or bring some tie-in to Ms. Taylor's department, so that there could be some education, there could be some awareness, there could be some highlighting, and that could be more on a volunteer basis, but just that we have some linkage throughout the state that way. And then that could maybe cultivate a need for a commission, a local commission at some point, and have some new blood or different energy tied to it. That just came to my mind, and maybe we could stimulate some conversations around that.
Yes, sir. And we would love to do that. Mr. Sullivan, I'm saying we would love to do that with your permission. It seems very similar. At one point, we used to have listening tours in our advocacy hearings. And at one point, we actually did have an agreement with Kentucky State University where we would bring in students who actually had a desire to do this type of work and talk to them about the agency and what they could do on campus. We've even had our youth human rights commissions where Glenda Stovall would get out and go to the different high schools, and they actually implemented their own high school human rights commissions. And we were trying to start them early in terms of training a human rights workforce. So we would absolutely love to be able to get back into that kind of thing. And hopefully we'll be able to do that at the beginning of the year.
I've got a
Commissioner Coe.
yes, I'm busting at the seams here. I have texted three of you. I don't know if all of you know that I have an online radio station, and I'm sitting here contemplating the talk show that I do on Sunday, which has been, I mean, I've done talk shows for the last 6 weeks, and the talk show's doing better than the music, almost, because people want to hear information. I do think it's time for me to think about having a human rights show to where we can do the things we're just talking about, trying to get people engaged. And the fact that the station is worldly, it's not just Kentucky going to hear this, which is good for an advantage for us because we got other people that are listening to what Kentucky's doing. But I have already asked three of you to come on the show Wednesday night before the December 10th, so I can promote this as a human rights, know your rights type of show to where we can get this out, promote it, and let people call in and ask questions about what we're doing. And just because human rights right now is in our face because of what's going on with the climate. So this is a good way to catapult those young people that are looking for things to do. Like Marianne said, we got someone that's just retired and there's nobody passing the baton. These kids are waiting. These young people are waiting. All we have to do is lead them, give them information, encourage them. I have found out that so many people from doing this talk show want to talk. They want to get involved, but they need leaders. We don't really have one. Even though we're in this midst of pandemic and politics, we still need our leaders to be forefront. And I think if we put it out there enough, our young people will start to want to take some of these batons. But the three of you that I've asked, I would like to have a human rights, know your rights talk show to where I can have different commissioners from other states maybe to call and let us know what they're going on and see what the pulse is about the human rights, because I know it's flaring right now because of what we're doing and what other people that I'm hearing from and who I'm talking to, it's flaring and it's a conversation that's worth having. So I'm like I said, I was busting at the seam because I said I've already thought about this before I got to today's meeting. And I've already asked three of you, I think Commissioner Smith knows, I think Miss Commissioner Smith has been on my show. And so she understands what I'm trying to do. But this is an online radio station that I started in March, and it's worldly. I've got thousands of listeners, all over the states, all over the world. I think this is time that I put this on the table because I've been busting at the seams for months to do it. And listening to this conversation today, I'm going to do it. And I want to start a human rights, know your rights radio talk show. And I want to start it probably the first of the year or start it on this December the 9th situation to let people know that there's going to be a show that they can voice their opinion, ask the questions, and actually talk to human rights commissioners to find out what their rights are, because I think it's time. So that's my comment.
Commissioner Cole, please let me know any way I can help with that.
I'm sorry, what now?
Please let me know any way I can help with that. I host 2 radio shows as it is. I'd be happy to help with that in any way I can.
Oh, most definitely. I'm gonna need all of you. I would like to interview every one of us in a period of time. I know it's not right away, but I don't think any of this is going to go away between now and January the 20th. There's going to be a lot of conversation about a lot of things that are going to be popping off. And I think we need to have our constituents ready for it. Because there are people that don't know their rights just because they're not informed. They may have issues, but they don't know where we are. They don't know how to get a hold of us. They may be shy. They may be whatever. We want to make sure that they're comfortable with this commission. Because I'm more comfortable with it now, just being on the commission now. I didn't know. I had a lot of issues years ago. Being an African-American female, I could tell you some stories, but I didn't know of the commission the way I know now. Trust me, I could have been here as someone as a complaint 10 or 15 years ago.
Very good point. And she's extended this invitation, so let's try to clear our calendars to work with her when she contacts us, okay? All right.
You guys for listening.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, Ms. Taylor, I think, yep, she's on. Legal units report is up next.
Hello again. You guys have my report, and I'm happy to take any questions if you've got them.
Have any questions for legal? Okay. Under new business, I need to go into closed session with you only for about 10 minutes. This is probably going to be the shortest closed session that we've had, unless you all decide to talk a lot, so you will control that. But if we could have a motion to go into closed session, and then I need a second.
Madam Chair, could I ask one question before you do that? Do we not accept, do we not vote on the legal unit report?
No.
We don't, okay, I just wanted.
Just enforcement.
Make a motion, we go into closed session.
We need to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Either Brandon or Terrence, can you all hear?
Yeah, I'm working on it now. Terrence, do you want, I'm going to make you the host or co-host.
Okay.
I'm already moving people to the waiting room. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to mute myself now. Or Terrence, do you want to put me in the waiting room? I think you can do that.
Okay, so everyone in closed session should not have anyone else in the room with you.
Just a minute. I think we're still streaming.